Region lock was one of the biggest topics in the StarCraft 2 community. It really bothered most professional players and also a big number of viewers. The thing is, StarCraft Brood War was way more popular in South Korea than it was in the rest of the world. It had premier events, TV broadcasting, and professional players were celebrated like real stars. It was a very prestigious career to have, and the scale was just different. In Europe and North America, it was more like a hobby. Koreans were the first to implement many techniques from real sports. Players would train in team houses with a strict schedule of practicing StarCraft up to 10 or even 12 hours per day. They had coaches, psychologists, salaries, and everything was organized really smoothly. It was a very disciplined approach to the game, and such dedication and effort paid off. Nobody could hold a candle to Korean players for many years in StarCraft Brood War and even later in StarCraft 2. Blizzard, of course, were trying to make StarCraft 2 popular across the world, and they were eager to create the perfect conditions for professional esports all around the globe. Having different participants from different countries helps the representation, and viewers can cheer for their local countrymen, which is always seen as a net positive thing in most sports. Local leagues help you grow local talents that can join the highest tier at one point in their career, and it's just a really good thing to have. But StarCraft 2 didn't have any restrictions or big regional tournaments in the beginning, and it seemed like a natural thing. Why would you want to erect unnecessary borders and take away the opportunities from the best? Blizzard thought so too, but they didn't consider the Korean factor. Very soon all the tournaments in that game were completely dominated by South Korean players, and no other foreigners stood a chance. It was a Dark Souls level of difficulty. Prior to 2012, there were mostly MLG tournaments, dream hacks, and many other events open to anybody for participation. And soon Blizzard introduced their own WCS system. It allowed out of diversity for all players and continents. Each country, or at least a sub-region, had their own national qualifiers, which would determine one or two best players who would then compete in regional finals or go straight to the global finals. So now you could cheer for your favorite esports athletes, and the professional scene saw a lot of new faces from parts of the world that were previously excluded from the competition. You know, it was expensive to travel from some countries to others, and you had sometimes to go through the visa process and so on. So now everybody had equal chances, at least for the biggest tournament in StarCraft 2. But this system had a big disadvantage though. The costs to run and cover every country were too heavy, and despite that it brought a lot of new faces to the big tournaments, the skill difference was still an issue, and the semifinals of 2012 global finals were no different from most tournaments. Most foreigners were eliminated, and the top 3 places were secured by Korean players. This system also favored diversity over more skilled games and skillful contenders. In some countries, there weren't that many great players in the first place, while in others the competition was far more interesting and entertaining to watch than the regional or even global finals, and South Korea was a classic example here. So Blizzard came with a new replacement next year. Now WCS had 3 divisions: America, Europe and Korea, and you could choose only one WCS event for the whole season. It seemed like a perfect solution. There were many spots for all skillful and talented players, and there was enough room for local athletes, but it still created some bizarre situations, as for example, in 2013 global finals we had Korean Koreans, American Koreans and European Koreans, with a sprinkle of a single Swedish player. And don't get me wrong, it was all fair and square, and Koreans absolutely deserved it. The only thing Blizzard forgot about, South Korea just had way more active players than any other country in the world, and those Koreans who couldn't bear the competition in their own country just traveled to Europe or America to farm free money there. The competition gave equal chances for everybody, but European and American players were still struggling really hard. As a result, many viewers would turn off the stream if their favorite players or countrymen dropped out from the tournament, and as for professional teams and players, it was really difficult to make a living of an esports career under such ruthless competition. There were only a few players from Europe and North America who could at least come close to the Korean titans. This would lead to viewership drops when all the foreigners were eliminated, and many players had to retire because they had very few chances and couldn't catch up with the best. If you look at the stats, many viewers enjoyed the standoff between Koreans and European or North American players more than anything else, but Korean versus Korean matches were the least favorable thing in the West. And if we talk about matchups, people also preferred more diversity here, with mirror matches being the least watched overall. The situation got even worse when European and American legends, such as Stefana or Idra or Nenua, choose to leave the game to pursue different career paths, and there were less and less competent players capable of competing with Koreans, and new talents simply couldn't get through. Fear Dragon made a perfect example and explanation why this was an actual problem.
Before the region lock, the staircase may have looked something like this. Players looking to compete would first climb the North American ladder with the small steps for each league all the way up to Grandmaster. Then you could compete in small online tournaments for 10 to 25 bucks. Once you start placing highly there, you try your hand at WCS, and now you need to beat some of the best players in the world. In order to see results this early on, you have to be one of the top 32 players in the world. This is a massive wall a lot of players faced, and some players were able to make good attempts at the climb. Few, if any, really made it up though.
So the StarCraft 2 community was basically divided over this matter. Some people were advocating for a region lock to give local esports players more chances and the ability to actually make a living of StarCraft 2. With the current situation in the competition, there was little incentive to play, as it was just too difficult. However, as a good counter-argument, some people were pointing out that Koreans brought the best StarCraft 2 gameplay experience and their matches were a real treat to watch. Also, it seemed somewhat racist to just exclude one nationality from other tournaments based on their high skill and incredible amount of hard work and effort they put into StarCraft 2. But Blizzard had to bite the bullet in 2016 and they introduced the region lock anyway. It was also quite unfair. Koreans couldn't participate in WCS tournaments, well, except for a few cases who had a residentship, but foreigners could still take part in GSL.
Now let's look at the system after the region lock. Each continent was separated for challenger, so a regional competition was established. After that, there's an international competition at premier offline events known as WCS circuit events without Koreans. Following that, there's a global competition at BlizzCon with global events that allow both Koreans and non-Koreans. While each step may have some outliers in skill, the climb up is far more gradual now, and it's a lot easier to see yourself climbing up to just the next step.
The consequences were also quite controversial. The regional lock was a net positive thing for the European and American scene. It allowed a great number of players to finally get back on track and start improving at a better speed. They had more motivation to play, and the first results appeared really fast. In 2016, American player Neeb finally managed to overcome the Korean dominance and win the Casper Cup.
With all 9 gateways he just added, with the economy he has right now.
Look at that, yeah, look at that pick.
Oh, gonna get another one off here. One more, should be game. Will he do it? It looks like he will.
That's
gonna be GG! Neeb is your Casper Cup 2016 champion, wins the Grand Finals 4-0, and is the first time ever foreigner to win a StarCraft 2 tournament in Korea.
2016-2017, such players as Elaser and Special were already placing high, and they were also beating many Korean players who were previously seen as unbeatable only a couple of years ago. And in 2018, the skill gap finally closed with Serral, the first foreigner who won the most important tournament of the year, WCS Global Finals.
He kills another carrier, 2 more fall! The Broodlord's starting to get picked off here as well, though. He comes in once more, he can basically one-shot these carriers, and I don't think there's any solution here for Stats. He's gonna commit, Serral overwhelming the air fleet of Stats. And that is it! GG!
And nowadays, the difference between top Korean players and the best European or American players isn't as big, and the competition got more interesting and unpredictable to follow. But it wasn't for free. This decision was enacted in the worst time possible. On the one hand, a great number of famous Western players had already left the game. In 2016, StarCraft 2 hit the lowest numbers on Twitch and other platforms. The game wasn't free to play yet, and many people thought that this decision was really late. On the other hand, in 2016, Korean scene just suffered the biggest match-fixing scandal that ever happened in esports, and the damage was irreversible. Many teams and sponsors left the scene, leaving dozens of players with no resources to continue their professional careers. and at that moment they're hit with the region lock, and now they have pretty much only one big tournament to compete in, which also has room for only 32 players. So it was a net negative thing for Korea. Of course, the results of the region lock are controversial. There is no doubt that it allowed the European and North American scene to rise from the ashes as a phoenix, and that's one of the reasons why we can still enjoy Serral, Clem, Raynor, Neep, and other talented players. Alongside free-to-play change, it brought a lot of new viewers from the Western countries. On the other hand, it was done at the expense of the Korean scene, with many players left with broken dreams and no chance to become a pro gamer in such conditions. They were stripped of their opportunity, and they had no other way than just leave StarCraft 2 for either a different career path or different games such as League of Legends. Some players, legends such as J-Donk and Flash, came back to compete in Brood War and left StarCraft 2 for good. This way, we went from GSL with more than 64 incredibly gifted, skillful Korean players to GSL with only 20 players, lack of new people, and a clear stagnation in front of our faces. So perhaps it would be wise to lift up the region lock nowadays. What do you think about it? And that's it for the story. Share your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to check out the biggest match fixing scandal that ruined the Korean scene alongside the region lock. Have a nice day, and see you next time.